Apologize, guys. I was having a little trouble getting in. It was not letting me in as a panelist, so I apologize for the delay.
That's okay, no worries. So we are so glad you joined our third of four webinars in a series Leading Through Crisis. And thank you for joining. We are going to get started now. I am Monika Jadeszko. I am the VP of Global Carnet Operations. And you will be hearing from Andy Shiles, who is the Chief Operating Officer here at Boomerang Carnets. Lalo Solorzano with Global Training Centers, and Rachel Pisani, Business Strategist with Pisani Recruiting and Marketing. Don't forget, like we mentioned in the invite, you can sign up for a 30-minute complimentary business consultation with any of our panelists or CSSRs here at Boomerang Carnets. We want to help you through this time. Sign up anytime during this webinar. I will be posting the link in the chat section of the call. We look forward to working with you in understanding your business challenges more in order to help serve you to the best of our ability. We would like to start by addressing the times we are in, which can be scary for all, and no doubt has impacted all of us in our businesses and our personal lives. It is so refreshing to see companies that are making a difference even in the middle of such fearful times. Now, I want to take a moment to thank some of our Boomerang clients that have been part of the COVID-19 relief efforts. We have Johnson & Johnson donating thousands of goggles to healthcare workers. Google is using its position as America's most popular search engine to help us informed about the pandemic. Amazon is helping to deliver test kits. Cisco Systems, the tech company, pledged $225 million in cash and products to prevent, detect, and manage the spread of the virus. Not only are they helping during the time of COVID, but they're always continuing to utilize Carnets as they do business globally. And I would like to highlight one of our clients. Matternet is using drones to help COVID efforts, including delivering prescriptions to one of the largest retirement communities in the US. They're looking to facilitate thousands of deliveries each month. The M2 drone delivery program at the hospitals is used to transport COVID test samples, PPE, and other types of healthcare equipment. Matternet has used Carnets to demo and test the M2 drone technology in the global markets. They utilize Carnets to ship drone systems to foreign countries while avoiding payment of duty and taxes. As a result, today in Switzerland, the drones are used for transporting samples between hospitals, labs, and universities. Our client can help with the global pandemic because of the easy entry and exit of their goods across foreign borders. And now let me turn this over to Andy.
Hey gang, one of the things that we're going to be talking about here is what we can do to take advantage of some of the trade agreements. One of the things that we're all, basically challenged with is the global economy has taken a sucker punch with the pandemic. The U.S. is definitely feeling the effects of it from one end of the country to the other. We unfortunately have, in addition to that, we've had the protests that have turned into riots and situations. So that has really done another thing that has hurt some of the economic recovery efforts. And then it looks like we've got another scenario that the COVID situation is a lot of cases coming back up. That being said, you see in the news predominantly that restaurants and bars and gyms and things of that nature and service industries that are catering to people are the ones that are really taking a hit. But that said, business is still transacting. There are businesses that are recovering from one thing or the other. And so international trade is still underway. And that's one of the things we need to look at is that if you are a business owner of a small business, a one-man shop to a small company, or if you are a member of a large company and you're part of a department or managing a department, regardless of what size company that you're dealing with, there's going to be not only the US economy, which we're the largest economy in the world, and it's so massive, but you need to be looking at expanding to international markets beyond US borders or beyond, for that matter, we've got participants on this webinar that are not just US, they're, other countries. With that, look beyond your domestic borders. With that, take a look at what trade agreements are already set up. In this case, talking about US, we know that all the hype's been going on that the USMCA, US Mexico Canada agreement, took effect July 1st. And with that, there are great opportunities, predominantly with agriculture, but there's a lot of opportunities across the board with for all three countries. That said, is that as we're looking at it, I've got some notes here, and my memory is as long as a turtle's tail and just as fast. So if I don't look at my notes, I won't get it right. There's the intellectual property rights. There's the digital trade. Digital trade is once the thing that if you are in the entertainment business, if you are a photographer, a freelance photographer, if you are somebody that generates, graphics and things of that nature, one of the things that you have a great opportunity with this digital part of the USMCA is being able to transmit your work without having it being hit with, duties and taxes and whatnot. With that, you need to take a look to see in lowering your costs. If you're a company and you're looking at lowering costs, consider taking your products, such as a policy and procedure manual or an instruction manual that goes with your product, having it transmitted to the destination country and then printed locally. The scenario there is a win-win because you're generating jobs in that country, but then you're also able to transmit and keep your duties minimized. There's the de minimis situation. If you've got an e-commerce company, you have a situation with the USMCA that is promoting more transactions, again, duty and tax free, utilizing the de minimis situation. I could go into a lot of minutia or details. Each of you have a different opportunity with your different situation with your company. You have different products, different services. So one of the things is we're looking through, we're not trying to sell you anything. We're trying to help you, shall we say, I guess the way I'm putting it, we want your business to survive this situation, and then we want it to thrive. So surviving is one thing of what do we got to do to help you get your business up and running so that you have your opportunity, you stabilize your business. Secondly, to that whole thing is what can we do to help you thrive in all that? The other thing, though, that comes into play with USMCA is there's some opportunities there where the content to get duty-free status is gone from 60% in the current NAFTA or the previous NAFTA to 75% North American content. That means there's opportunities to expand manufacturing, to expand services that would be calculated in that 75%. So again, look at everything from the packaging to the marketing side to the actual components. There's a lot of good opportunity to expand in that utilizing the USMCA that you can get duty-free status and get more business going on there. Some of the things you ought to do, though, is in your own scenario, consider doing audits of your own sources. So look at your labor rates, look at your North American content, look at literally down to the labor rates of assembly to manufacturing, those kinds of things, so that you can calculate. You need to know where you're at. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. To take advantage of this USMCA or anything else, you better know what your content is, how much of it is locally sourced, how much is foreign sourced, and those kinds of things. As we go through that, the other opportunity is the US-Japan trade deal. In that one, now that took effect January 1st. You don't hear a whole lot about that, but one of the things about the US-Japan trade deal is that US companies now have greater access to the third largest economy in the world, which is Japan. And with that, again, it predominantly is focused on agriculture with this first go round. There's $7 billion worth of trade agriculture wise. If you're associated in any way with the agriculture industry, that's a strong positive. So the question is, of that, with about 90% of US agriculture products will be either duty free or reduced duty rates over time. So that's a great opportunity if you are in support or associated in any way with the agriculture industry. In addition to that, again, coming back to machinery and some digital products and things of that nature, there's a great opportunity with that. Now, we've heard with the not only the U.S.-Japan trade deal, we've also heard in the news here recently, Europe has shut down or has banned U.S. travelers, if you will, in the airline and tourist industry for a while and all that. That doesn't mean business is stopping. Now, tourists, yeah, that's not good. But with the European limitations on travel, there's also other opportunities such as look at Malaysia, look at Singapore, look at the Latin American countries like I mentioned before. Malaysia, for example, there's great opportunities for U.S. products with electrical equipment, machinery. Medical devices are all over the world. There's opportunities for that. In Singapore, there's been a recent uptick, believe it or not, on precious gems and jewelry. All I can figure is that there are people wanting to buy some of that and do some things there. But again, the machinery, the machinery, the computers and things of that nature. The key here with all of these different countries, there's great opportunities you may have never looked at it. And that's what we're trying to do is expand your horizons and look to see if you can expand your customer base. With that, you've got to have a strategy to figure out what you want to do. You can't use a shotgun approach and hit all these countries at one time. You don't have the money or the resources. So the question that you've got to do is develop your strategy. And with that, where I want you to turn this now over to Rachel Pisani. And that's one of the things that we want to do is help you develop that strategy and come alongside you again with this. So Rachel, I'm going to turn it over to you for now.
Thanks, Andy. Awesome. So you've heard from Monica, and you've heard how some of our boomerang clients are actually still continuing to use ATA, Carnets, and CPDs to do international business, people that have been in the global business in the past, and companies like Matternet that are not just doing it going into Switzerland and continuing to expand globally during this time, but they're also taking time out of their business to actually address some COVID-19 issues and how they can help with the relief efforts. So I just want to say again, thank you for all the boomerang clients that are not only looking at how their business is going to expand, but how they can give back, how they can impact our communities and our nation during this time with COVID. I love what Andy said. Andy said, you know, with these free trade agreements, we have 14 agreements with 20 different countries right now, I believe. This means that your opportunity outside of the US is tremendous. The only issue with that is what you don't know, right? So if you don't know that you can do trade or you can do free trade with these countries, then you limit yourself with the possibilities of how to expand your product or service line globally. We want to help you understand how to better reach your client base, whether that be just in the US, or whether that be looking at other countries that you can go into. So Lilo's going to work with us in just a few minutes. He's going to talk to you about some ways that you can actually be trained on the ways to expand internationally, whether that's once you get into a country, what those rules and regulations are and how to manage your compliance with that. So I wanted to just talk to you for a few minutes about how you create a strategy to expand globally. Monica and Andy both mentioned some challenges that happen when you expand globally. There are language barriers, there's culture barriers, there's customs barriers, not just like customs when you're trying to get through the border, but general culture customs, right? That you have to learn, you have to understand the culture of those countries. And then, of course, there are the complex compliance and regulatory issues that if you are in global trade, you understand the complexities of these regulatory issues that are constantly changing. And especially in the world that we see today, they change even faster than they have in the past. Andy brought up the USMCA that was just implemented. Amazing, amazing opportunities in the face of a lot of crises and a lot of stress and a lot of chaos in our world today. There are still opportunities. So Boomerang wants to work with you. We are offering a 30-minute free consultation for us to talk to you about what you might be dealing with in your own corporation, in your own business, in your own career. We would love to talk to you and understand what you're contemplating. Maybe we can provide some insight, help you create a strategy that would work for your corporation at this point, and how you might have to pivot or shift in the direction that you're going based on what we've just come through. When we look at expanding globally, there are those challenges, but there are some very clearly defined ways that we can create a strategy to approach this global expansion. So if you've been on our first two webinars, you've heard me talk about creating a strategy and what you have to do. I'm going to review just a few of those elements. So if you missed them, you'll get to hear them today. But if you want more information, we would be happy to do a consultation with you and talk through these in more detail, specific to your industry, specific to the countries that you're looking at, specific to the ways that you want to expand. If you're looking to expand and you haven't already, or if you're in certain countries and you're looking to go into additional countries, there are a few things that I suggest you do. One is review your company. Where are you today? What is the foundation? Where is your core? Where are you financially? Where are you with your service offerings? Where are you today? Review your company. Review all those details that you have. Then do research. Research new free trade agreements. Research new agreements that are happening within our country. Look at, just like Andy said, Europe is shutting tourist industry down right now. They're not letting us go in. There are ways that we can still navigate this global landscape, even with a lot of the restrictions that are being seen today. So let's do some research. Look at your industry, look at the countries that you're dealing with, look at your client base. Are the clients that are purchasing your services, are they in other countries? Where are the commonalities? Do that research and then set specific goals. Look at the goals that you have for your organization and take a step back. We talked about zooming out last time. Take a step back, reevaluate those goals and say, are these goals what we should be focused on right now? Are there specific goals? We were just talking, Andy and Monica and I were just talking the other day about a service offering. And we said, well, but right now that service offering might not be what we need to focus on today because we can't do it yet, right? With the restrictions, with everybody not traveling yet, with certain states are closing down things again, and they're still trying to get control over the virus. So there are specific goals that you may have set even 3 months ago that need to be changed. Look at those goals, set them, and then clearly define your initiatives. The problem that we have in businesses today is we set a goal and we say, okay, we're going to go do that. But then there are never initiatives that are directly tied to those goals that are set. If you don't have a specific initiative, so if I say I'm going to train people on compliance, Lilo understands this very well. I can say that, that can be my goal, but until I put curriculum together, until I announce the class, until I set a title for that class, until I find an instructor for that class, I'm not going to reach that goal. So we have to set specific goals, but we then have to clearly define the initiatives that will help us reach those goals. After we've done that, we need to identify and place resources. So we need to identify who are the people that can help us reach those goals. Are there partners that we need to work with? Just like today, we're bringing in a training partner to show you how you can utilize training services to help you expand globally and shorten that learning curve for you and your business. Identify those places and resources that you need to place. And then finally, utilize the right tools. The right tools are so critical. If I were to tell you that I've got a hammer, that hammer might be the right tool for me to nail a nail into the wall. It might be the right tool for me to use in a certain circumstance. It is probably not the right tool for me to use when I'm doing brain surgery, right? Depending on the person, I don't know. Depends on what you want the outcome to be. You got to have the right tools, right? You've got to have the right tools, whether you're in business, whether you're in a large corporation or a small corporation. Those tools are different for everyone. There are large corporations that need massive ERP systems. They need enterprise management systems that can see all over the world and see your point of sale systems and integrate your CRM into it. There are other businesses that can run off of Excel spreadsheets, right? Every business is different. Everybody needs different tools, and you need to assess what those right tools are. We have some great tools. We have the ATA Carnet, we have CPDs. We have some great tools that we can use when we're dealing with exports, when we're dealing with international trade. We need to identify what those tools are. A lot of those tools, for instance, a washing machine, right? I can save tremendous amounts of time if I have a washing machine instead of having to wash things by hand. I can save and I can get a quality out of a washing machine that I might not be able to get by doing it by hand. Having that tool, having that different piece of equipment, having that different resource can help me expedite what I need to do. That's exactly what we're talking about when we talk about tools in the international space. In order to identify those, sometimes you need training. Sometimes you need to look at your resources and do they understand what they have to do in order to expand globally? What is that skill set that they need? Lilo's going to talk to us a little about training and how that can help us expand our business globally, bring in additional revenue, address different services that we have. Do your people need to be trained? Do your people need to be more educated on what they can and can't do? Opens up new opportunities for your business. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Lilo and let him take you through.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, well, everybody, thank you for joining, and thank you, the folks over at Boomerang, for inviting us and having us present here today. And rather than give you a sales pitch or anything like that, I just rather explain to you why training and what we have seen in our nearly 30 years of doing this training for international trade and supply chain logistics and et cetera, what we have found as being important, and why training works, and why it's a strategic part of your business plan and business model. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Rachel. Perfect. I like to use this only because it pretty much summarizes that. What happens if we train our employees? That's a big fear for a lot of management. What happens if we train our employees and they leave, and course, our compliance people are always saying, well, what happens if we don't train them and they stay? That is something that is always in the back of the mind of our clients who are compliance managers, and trying to justify why training is important in the workplace, and why they would like to see their staff or their team better prepared for battle. I mean, it's something they just need to. Laws constantly change, especially with this current administration. It has been a moving target. So anyway, next slide, please. 4 things that I like to, and that we like to discuss and to justify and talk about training, that we like to point out is untrained employees are unproductive employees. Not necessarily that they're not good employees. I always like to emphasize that. They are definitely good employees. They just struggle to try to get their job done because they're not trained. They just do not have any. They don't have the ability or the tools or the knowledge to do their work. You know, they pretty much struggle for that. And in fact, and I dare to say this, they're probably twice as busy as those that are trained, because they are working harder to try to do whatever it is that they need to do, and they just are not properly trained. So unproductive in that sense. That doesn't mean they're not good employees. The second point here is lack of training can lead to turnover. That's a very big problem. There's study after study that show that. That's not something that we like to say just to sell training. Honestly, these are stats that I picked up from payroll companies and HR companies, et cetera, that are in the business of monitoring and tracking this. And there's report after report that show that employees that are not trained, that they at least to turnover. What's the problem with turnover is you have to onboard the new employee again. You have to go through the recruiting process. You have to go through the whole list of things that you need to do to get that person up and running if you have a new employee. We have seen also that with an untrained employee, and again, the statistics show this, that an employee who is not trained normally lasts within a company about a year, you know, so from the time they're hired to the time they decide to leave. So again, lots of costs there, of resources, of money, and again, training. I mean, you just having to train them. And which leads us to the next point: happy employees, happy business. Just like at home, right? Happy wife, happy life. It's very true in the workplace. Very, very true in the workplace. Employees who are trained are very well. They're obviously ambassadors of your company. They go out there every day, and they have your back as an employer. You know, they stand up for what you're doing, they relay that company culture and your goals and your mission, and you know, a good business thrives with that, you know, and the customers see that. The customers see, wow, that he or she really believes in that product or in that company. They really go out and try to make make an effort to help the client. And lastly, which also leads us, so one, you know, all these 4 points, one leads into the other. So employee development is crucial for the company as well. You know, of course, as an employee grows, they tend to stay. When they don't see that they have growth, when they don't see that they have the ability to continue to develop within the company, they leave. You know, they go and when that job pops up in LinkedIn, they all of a sudden start applying. You know, they all of a sudden start saying, oh, maybe I ought to start looking at this, rather than just closing it, you know, and ignoring it. when they're trained, they feel that the company cares for them, and they develop within the company, and of course that with that comes the growth of the company.
Hey,
Next
Lila,
slide, please.
let me
Yes.
jump in on for just a second, make a
Yeah.
comment. What you're doing there is that coming in with everything that you're going through that you just talked about, right now, most companies, your volumes have dropped off. So you have, employees that are, that have a lot of time on their hands. This is a great opportunity. What I've challenged my own staff is become proficient. How many times have we, not only ourselves, but also you see your staff, where you want them to go through training. Well, we talk about training right and left over the years and all that. Now's the time for people, if they've got time on their hands, in other words, and you're in a situation where you're not laying people off, it's like, get them trained, get them go through their all their training stuff that they're trying to do and become proficient. What's also crucial as leaders, as you have your staff becoming proficient and learning different skills and all that, again, the proficiency is a key of, as leaders, we need to look at projects or opportunities for them then to apply that training onto what you're doing. So as we're looking at this, if you're gearing up and developing that strategy to expand markets, you're going to have somebody that's proficient in how to export the commodity, or how to do some research in certain things, or whatever the case is. So this is a great opportunity for you to look at that while they're building their skills. You're developing that strategy, and that the two come together at the right time. So, this is one of those where I've challenged my own staff and company to look at it and say, get up and running, so that now's the time to do it. When this economy starts coming back, it's going to be like Katie bar the door and hang on. And that's what we want. So now take advantage of this. So Lila, go on back, but that's just, I see a great points of what you were looking at there.
No, and we agree, and we have seen that, and thank goodness. And the last slide will show it. But in this slide, I just wanted to show more of a personal experience. My background is in technology. I was in trade compliance software business for 25 years, and that's what I did. I mean, I lived and breathed that. I was a computer programmer, and I did sales. I mean, it literally implementations and help support and everything. So if it not for a good trained employee, our software is just not, I mean, I know I wrote the software, I helped, I was part of the team. So I know it worked. Of course, us programmers always think that our software doesn't break, it's always the best, and when it's not working, it's the fault of the user. Well, it may or may not be true. And I like to use the slide, garbage in, garbage out, and a very good example that I like to use is USMCA. In this case, I was going to say NAFTA, but as of yesterday, it's not USMCA. Software program can be the best. It can get you what you need, the documents that you need, but it all starts with a trained employee. If that employee does not know what your tariff number is for that product, everything from that point on is incorrect. It's not going, it'll produce the documents based on what that employee input in the system as that HTS for that product, but it's going to produce that documentation. What if it's wrong? That's completely, it's worthless. So anyway, that was just an example. We can use lots of examples with exporting, with importing, etc. And really briefly, the way we help and what we have seen a lot. Seminars are on hold right now, obviously for obvious reasons. We have done hundreds of webinars, and webinars are not a strategy of our company as a response to COVID. We've been doing that for over 10 years. Same with e-learning and corporate training. So I better let this go now to Monica, and she's going to talk about tools, ATA, Carnet, and CPD. But thank you very much.
Lilo, I just wanted to interject here for a minute. Your training actually addresses some of the needs once they've created a strategy and they've said, hey, we're going to have to start providing these services or these products. We're going to need to classify differently. We're going to need to look at some of these trade agreements like Andy talked about. Does your training actually help them look at some of those trade agreements and actually help them look at classification and valuation and how they can utilize things like that?
It does. In fact, our training is not is unlike a lot of what you're seeing right now in the industry, where you get invited to a free training for 1 hour, etc. And obviously, not a knock on this, but you know, this is more of a series. But for example, the USMCA trainings that you've seen that are 1 hour long and come and learn USMCA, those are great. They're very good informational sessions, but ours are deep dives. They're all full days. I mean, unfortunately for those that don't like to sit in front of a computer or get training for a full day, but you get a textbook, and I mean, I'm talking about a deep dive, and you're going to go into the trenches and find out why your product will or will not qualify for NAFTA, or I'm sorry, USMCA. It's going to take a while. USMCA, and you know, it's just it's deep dives on everything. And and we do have one of our instructors attending, Derry. she's she's confirming, you know. And then we go into a lot of deep, and when we do the corporate stuff, I mean, it's very tailored to that company's business and product. But yes, Rachel, you're correct.
I think that's important to note. Andy made a good point when he said, you know, create the strategy and then get your people trained. Use this time. You know, we're talking about how challenging it's been. And I heard something just this morning. The two industries that suffered the most job loss. I'd like to just take a minute and ask our attendees a few questions. Can you just type in there what industry you're associated with? Those that are on the call right now, if you could just type in there for us, let's find out. Okay, technology, fashion, great. We've got some hospitality, some retail, some tech, manufacturing, sales, apparel, good, good. Those of you that are joining us today, can you tell me, are you in a corporation that is more than 10 employees, or are you in a corporation that's owned? There you go. Okay, I see it. Or are you in a small to medium-sized business? How would you, okay, SME, yep. Okay, great. That helps me. That helps me. Global 200, that's great. So Global 500, SME, great. So two of the industries that saw the most job loss, right, really suffered the most over the last few months was hospitality and retail. And just today they announced that they've actually had the strongest gains in the past 2 months as the US engines gets restarted, right? That tells me that, and what did I see today? I think the unemployment fell back down to 11%. So we're not where we were, but we are definitely not where we were a couple of months ago. So we're seeing tremendous gains. Yep, 11.1, there you go. We're seeing tremendous gains right now in the US economy. We're restarting this engine, we're getting back out there, we're moving forward. So we need to do some research individually. If you're in a small business, I also heard, this is another interesting fact that I just heard this morning. I heard that we doubled the registrations for small businesses last month. You know what that tells me? That tells me not only are people using this time to get training that's desperately needed for their employees, but there are people out there that are now taking a step back and they've said, hey, I need to start a new business. I need to start something different. I need to step out and begin doing something more. And so these small businesses that are starting, it's daunting to think about going international. But going international can catapult your business. So right now, with so many online solutions and so much visibility into the global landscape, there are so many tools that you can use to do that. There are so many ways that we can use the tools that we've been given, such as these Carnets and CPDs, that I'm still learning. And as a small business owner, as a small business, you can even generate more revenue and save on your bottom line by utilizing these tools. So before Monica went into the ATA Carnets, I just wanted to ask a few of those questions and get some feedback from you. I appreciate you giving us feedback. Do you guys have any questions at this time before we go into this last session?
I think Linda Kabachi.
I saw a hand raised.
Yeah.
If you've got a question, just put it in there. You can send it just directly to the panelists or you can send it to everyone, but we'll be happy to answer your questions. And I'm going to turn it over to Monica. Thanks for letting me interject there.
No problem. Thank you, Rachel. I've been doing Carnets for 12 years and I'm still learning every day about Carnets.
Thank you for making me feel better.
So we heard Andy talking about some of the new regulations and trade agreements that can affect your global expansion. Rachel spoke about the importance of planning and identifying new tools and technology. Lalo showed us how we can get the training needed to do this. I wanted to finish by talking to you about how some of our clients have used the ATA Carnet as a powerful tool in developing an expo strategy and increasing sales. So what is an ATA Carnet? It's a French word. It means book of papers. An ATA Carnet is an internationally accepted customs document that allows the temporary entry of goods or merchandise into a foreign country and back to the country of origin without a payment of duty and taxes. The Carnet is valid for up to 12 months and you can use it multiple times during the validity period. The Carnet system has about 87 countries and territories and it keeps expanding. The most recent country that came on board was Indonesia. We had Qatar. We were very excited when Mexico and Brazil joined Carnet system a few years ago. With Mexico, you know, a lot of production companies traveling to Mexico, a lot of infrastructure happening in Mexico. So we have heavy equipment now being shipped on Carnets to Mexico as well. There are three purposes for which you can use a Carnet for your business. You can use it for professional equipment. Think of a film crew taking camera and tripods and lenses to the overseas location to film a documentary movie. Commercial samples, another category. You can have a jeweler with a sample line taking to show it to a potential customer and take orders in a foreign country. And the last one is exhibitions and fairs. So whenever you have goods that have to go for a trade show or sporting events or exhibit, you can use a Carnet for any goods that will be returning back to US. Carnets are not used for any consumables or giveaways. So that's the only exception to the goods that you can list on a Carnet. So what's some of the benefits of the ATA Carnet? You will definitely save time and it streamlines your clearance entry. It's an easy entry through foreign customs as well as easy re-entry into US. Why? Because the Carnet acts as a registration of your goods with US Customs and you do not need any additional commercial invoices or a proof that the goods originated in the US. You will save money. So you will eliminate the import duty and taxes. We know that some of the goods might be non-dutiable, but they're still subject to VAT, to GST, to any other import taxes. And with ATA, there is no need for a TIB. So you do not have to hire another customs broker in every foreign country you're gonna travel to file a TIB for you. You will use one document to clear all the Carnet countries. As I mentioned before, it's accepted in 87 countries and territories. It's valid for unlimited import and exports for 12 months for the same list of the goods on a Carnet. It simplifies the process for you. There's only one cost for one Carnet, and you will know the cost before your departure. And of course, it gives you a peace of mind. There are no unknowns and no hassle with customs. So whether you are an individual, a small business, a Fortune 500 company, you can all benefit from using Carnets to expand globally. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I believe we still have some time for a few questions. So I would like my panelists to help me answer some of the questions. First question that I have, and that might be to Lalo. Can you expand on the importance of soft skills in a workplace?
Sorry, I was muted there.
No problem.
Can I expand on the, what was that?
Of soft skills in a workplace.
Oh, sure. I mean, well, usually when employees are, I mean, I guess if I understand this correctly, if the employees are well trained, it helps with the business being able to provide the source or resources or the services, I should say, for their company. You know, if they are able to provide the correct compliance, you know, the company would be less in trouble, and you know, they would be able to get product in and out of the U.S. or the respective countries a lot easier and a lot faster. So we have seen that has been a very big positive for employees in the workplace.
Yeah, let me also jump in on that. Is that the deal with the soft skills is something that is the difference between you and your competition, how you can differentiate yourself and your company from your competition, meaning that, for example, you walk into a fast food restaurant, you're in and out, they could care less if you're there. You walk into what seems to be the standard today of a Chick-fil-A, how may I serve you? What is the terminology? You feel appreciated when you walk into one of those types of stores. When you have a scenario where you've got somebody that's going through something and they get upset, it's like, you know what, I'm right here. This may not necessarily be my area, but I'm going to stick with you and we're going to resolve this situation and figure out how we can get a solution for you. If you have that situation and you have somebody treat you that way, just think of the loyalty that builds up from a customer base, because you want to go back to them. You appreciate what's going on. The other side of that is also from a career perspective. When you yourself are displaying soft skills in that, where you're showing appreciation for your employees, or you're exercising those same type of skills and things that you're stepping up and resolving a situation, let me tell you, that's one of the things that will help you in your own career. You never know who's watching you. And in the scope of that, I got to tell you, I've already seen situations where our customer base has broadened because of those soft skills, because we took the time and go, what can I do to help you? This is, that we had issues that we resolved with a different company. Had situations and somebody had a problem, they couldn't get hold of them. They called us for some advice and guidance. Guess what? We helped them. Was it our job? No, but those soft skills to say, we see somebody with a problem. Let's see what we can do. So those kinds of, whoever asked that question, that's a good question, because that's one of those things where you either step up or step out. And I guarantee you that those soft skills will help you and your employees step up to the challenge.
Excellent. Thank you, Andy. We have another question. Does the UK leaving Europe at the end of the year impact usage of Carnets or the cost risk?
Well, do you want to take that one, Monica, or is it?
I will take that. Well, obviously, the usage will be affected because UK is leaving the one customs territory that we know the entire Europe is. Usually when you go to Europe, you enter Carnet in one country, You can freely move within the EU countries without presenting the Carnet, and then you're going to present it when you leave Europe. So with UK no longer being within the EU, the required will be to present the Carnet when you enter UK, then when you leave UK, and then you can enter EU and you can freely move within the EU countries. It will not affect really the cost of the Carnet. The cost of the Carnet is mainly affected by the value of the goods. We will make sure that you have enough certificates in the Carnet, the pages that get stamped by customs, so you do not get stuck when you get to transfer between the EU and UK.
Good point.
That was excellent question. I am just looking right now.
While you're doing
Andy,
it, one
you were
thing I was going to suggest, I'm sorry, Rachel, what?
When you were talking about training, from the salary surveys that we do at Pisani Recruiting, we have found that those that are making in the six figures and making consistently 30 to 40% more than their peers are those that have actually had 2 or 3 certifications in addition to their degree, in addition to their bachelor's or their master's. They are certified in 2 or 3 different areas. So the training that Lalo is doing is vital to that individual's career path and growth. So just like he was stating, you know, keeping them happy training, the soft skills are not something that you can quantify through a certification, right? But those soft skills are what differentiate you. And so you made a very good point there. Boomerang can help their clients because they actually care. So when you work with a company like Boomerang, you realize they actually care about your business. The whole reason why we're doing these consultations and these 30-minute consults for free is because Boomerang actually cares what's happening with people's businesses right now. And they understand from the largest to the smallest, people are struggling to figure out how do they navigate this new landscape. So I think your point was very well received, and just wanted to let you know those soft skills are important just as much as those certifications and the training. It not only helps your corporation, but it will help them individually in their career path and their salary ranges, especially in the compliance industry.
Rachel, would you do, I think you and Monica were both on a client. We had one of the companies that had done a consultation. You guys, I think you two did it, was the lady that had a company over in Romania, wasn't it?
Yes, we
Can
did.
you give a little bit of feedback of at the end of that, what basically what they were saying, and seemed like, I think she was very excited about what she was going to be able to accomplish.
Yeah, you know, companies are looking. She did not realize that she could use a Carnet to send samples to different countries. She was doing sportswear. And so her company was a sportswear company. But what she realized is that learning about the Carnet allowed her to tell her friends who were in other industries, hey, there's a tool out here. So none of them knew that the Carnet was a viable tool for them to use. And just like some of the questions we've received here today, is a Carnet acceptable in Peru or Brazil? Or can I do this when I'm going into the UK? These are the kinds of questions that we want to help you understand. The other thing that's really unique, and I can say this because I'm coming from outside of Boomerang, but the other thing that's really unique about Boomerang is Boomerang finds a solution. One thing that I love about your company, guys, is that your clients call in, and they call into Monica's team every day. That phone is ringing with people that are having a problem. They don't know the solution. They don't know that Carnet is the solution, right? They're calling and saying, hey, I've got this issue and I don't know what to do. And the CSSRs have to be, you can only be as creative as what you know. So that wisdom and that understanding and the knowledge of what you know, a viable solution for someone. So it's one thing that I love about Boomerang is just like these questions that we're getting, I'm seeing them scrolling in now to the panelists. The questions that we're getting are all about how can we help that company be more successful? How can we help them lower their cost of entry into a country? How can we help them lower that cost of doing business outside of the U.S.? And so, Monica, go ahead. You can go ahead. I think we have time for maybe one more question.
So there is that one more question. Do you see yourself having the Carnet working in Peru or Brazil this year or next? So unfortunately, Peru is not a Carnet country yet. Brazil is. They did join the Carnet system before Olympics. So that was very exciting. I know that there's less hand carry shipments going to Brazil right now because of the travel restrictions. However, we've been processing a lot of cargo shipments going to Brazil. Brazil is also one of the countries that if you currently have a shipment on a Carnet and you know that you cannot get it out of Brazil before the expiration date of the Carnet, Brazil will accept what it's called a replacement Carnet. So we can extend the temporary importation of your goods in Brazil and you can keep the goods for additional time without having to, you know, having to re-export the goods because you lost the time due to the pandemic to demo the goods or to do the testing.
Yeah, that's one thing too, is that if any of you have current situations where you're challenged, where if you're using a Carnet and it may be expiring or whatnot, we might be able to help you, or we can help you probably in most cases. There's some creative opportunities, including to the point of foreign Carnets. If you've got an item in the States here, for example, that the foreign Carnet may be expiring, U.S. Customs has not traditionally accepted replacements, but we've been successful in that and working with U.S. Customs and foreign our counterparts from around the world and getting replacements accepted. So excellent stuff there.
Excellent. And thank you, Harley. I love that Dari and Harley both are interjecting here. Everybody can't see. Sometimes it's just going to the panelists. But thank you, Harley. Yes, the current regulation in Brazil allows the Carnet as the only document to be along with the cargo. So.
And from our experience about the cargo shipments going to Brazil, we are including what's called the blue certificates. So we've had, you know, a few shipments going in. We've learned that customs would like to see the blue certificate. So we'll definitely take care of that once you submit your Carnet application to us. Excellent questions today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and I hope to see you next month for our 4th webinar in this series.
Monica, next month, we're going to be doing a panel discussion, a roundtable discussion on trade. And so I think it's going to be really interesting. We would love to have your feedback, guys. So anybody that has been on the past 3 webinars, we'd love for you to send us a note. Let us know what you're thinking. Is this helpful? Just type it in there right now. Is this helping you guys? Oh, thank you, Graham. That's awesome. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, John. Thank you, Dari. That's great. It's good for us to get feedback. It's good for us to understand if it's helpful to you and if it's beneficial to you. We want to see your business thrive, not just survive.
Well, thank you, everyone, and see you next month.
Have a great day, guys. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Enjoy your long weekend.